That's what they're telling people. This is as bad as Exodus was. These new people are worse. They're more. This is Exodus unfiltered and unplugged. They used to have focus on the families, brilliant public relations machine to temper some of this extremism. Focus on the family a few years ago bowed out of a Love One Out conference because it wasn't selling anymore. And when that went, now you have without that great wealthy public relations machine full of public relations professionals, what you have is you've got these people saying what they really believe, what they really feel, just like we heard from Matt Barber. Let's go through a few more of these board members, because they're going to try to tell the media they're one thing, but they're quite something different. Another board member is Michael Brown. He's a reverend in North Carolina. Each year he holds a remarkably arrogant God has a better way rally, as if he knows this. Each year at this God has a better way rally, he gets red-shirted members of his church, hundreds of them, to surround and infiltrate Charlotte Pride and intimidate people and make them uncomfortable, and he calls this love. He said his goal is to raise up a holy army of uncompromising, spirit-filled radicals who will shake an entire generation with the gospel of Jesus by life or death. That's a constant theme. Dying for God, martyrdom. It's a constant theme from Reverend Michael Brown. It's something to be very concerned about. And this is the kind of message we're bringing to Oklahoma City with the Restored Hope Network. This is not hope, this is hate, this is harm, and this is something we need to stand up to and contradict that message that's going to especially harm our youth. Another board member is Leanne Payne, who wrote a book called The Broken Image. How many people have heard of Leanne Payne? In her book, she compares gay people to cannibals. She has something called the cannibal theory. She opines that homosexuals are not truly interested in making love with same-sex partners, much like how a cannibal eats victims to ingest their traits. She says that gay people only have sex to ingest the masculinity and femininity of their partners. And she calls this science, I suppose. Hilariously, Payne has an infamous anti-masturbation prayer, which I shall now read to you. By the way, no demonstrations, everybody. So this is a G-rated, well, PG-13. Okay. R plus, no X. This is actually a prayer she has written in her book that she tells her clients, and somebody used this with me when I went undercover during my book, Anything But Straight on the Ex-Gay Ministries. This is the prayer. Now, I'm not a reverend, so I'll do my best. In the name of Jesus Christ, I say that this creative energy from now on shall flow in its normal channel, and that it shall not overflow anymore to the right hand or to the left hand. I build high dikes on the right hand. I don't think she means those And I build high dikes on the right hand, and in the left hand, in the name of Jesus, I command that it shall not overflow to the left hand or the right hand, but it shall flow quietly into its normal channel. I don't want to ask her what that normal channel is. Folks, this is what passes for sanity at the Restored Hope Network, and this is why we need to stand up to this nonsense. Even more ridiculous, the catalyst behind this event is a bisexual woman posing as ex-gay named Ann Polk. Even as she tries to peddle this conference as helpful and hopeful, she is in the midst of a painful divorce with her former ex-gay poster boy husband, John Polk, who recently said, "Today I do not consider myself ex-gay and I no longer support or promote the movement." If you remember, John Polk is also the guy I photographed coming out of a gay bar in 2000, and we're glad that we're glad we were finally able to drag him out of the closet. He's joined us with a lot of effort. It gets worse. The group's co-founder is Andy Kamitsky, who has a Living Waters program you may have heard about. That's his program. And he has written a book called Pursuing Sexual Wholeness. And he likes to say, Satan delights in homosexual perversion, and he claims the source of gay relationships are demonic. He calls it spiritual warfare, and he's constantly trying to battle demons within the gay community to purify them and cleanse them. And this is really what this conference has come down to at this point. This is the unfiltered Exodus. This is people saying what they really believe. And this is extremism, unhinged, unplugged, and unrepentant. But Kaminsky's got his own problems as he talks about purity. It's kind of interesting to me. He's the founder of Desert Stream Ministries, which has a shocking history of sexual abuse and impropriety. In March 8, 2010, Kaminsky wrote a blog post that said Desert Stream had a, quote, a long-standing staff person from Desert Stream who had sexually abused at least one teenager who had sought help from us. This was one of many, many events at that ministry that were shocking, and it's incredible that he actually continues to be listened to given his track record. Incredibly disturbing track record. As one of my friends said, this is really the No Hope Network. Do they offer hope? No. I do have some sympathy for these individuals, I will say. Imagine dedicating most of your adult life to an unraveling hoax. You think you're on a journey, but you're only find that you've been riding around aimlessly in a cul-de-sac on a bicycle all these years. That's a difficult pill to swallow if you think about it. And that's why we will see more people follow in Alan's footsteps, but it's very difficult for these people to come forward and go, my God, I started this 10 years ago, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years ago, living this lie, and now I got to live in truth. Hard to do for anybody, and that's why they're fighting tooth and nail and digging in. Ann Paulk has the nerve to dig in and offer hope when her own husband is going to gay bars in Portland, Oregon, and they're about to get divorced. And here's the thing about her, and she's running it, so she's very important. We had to do, even after we did an expose going to Portland, Oregon, interviewing her husband, people who her husband had hit on and things like that, she was still going off to XA conferences and selling her story of their fairy tale marriage as if it was flawless and perfect, and lying to people, looking them straight in the eyes and not blinking and lying to them, knowingly lying and understanding what was going on, and she still did this. And she did it without conscience. We know she did it for a fact. We know she did this in California because we were there, and she did this in Minneapolis a few months back, right before her husband came out and this was all going down. So what is the future for the ex-gay myth now that Exodus is closing its doors? Well, first, as they lose support at home, they will increasingly seek markets abroad. For instance, places like Uganda, Russia, Poland, and Jamaica. They're going to Hong Kong. It's another one we've had some instances with ex-gays. They're particularly searching out totalitarian societies where free speech can't be used to counter their lies. That's how we're beating them here, because we're able to speak up and speak out, and every time they say something that's not true, we're able to replace their fiction with fact. They're going to places where people can't do that very easily. They face persecution, they face potential violence, they face imprisonment. They only succeed in places where people are scared, where they're afraid, where free speech cannot match their false speech. And so we're going to see a lot more of this abroad, and that we're preparing for that right now. Second, there will likely be more lawsuits accusing these groups of consumer fraud. The Southern Poverty Law Center, which I have worked closely with, has sued Jews offering new alternative to homosexuality. And that's going through the courts right now in New Jersey. And so we're looking at that. They're suing them on the basis of consumer fraud. There will be more bills to ban quacks from practicing reparative therapy on minors. California here has already passed such a ban. I was in New Jersey last week testifying on a bill to do just that. And we could have a vote in New Jersey on this bill as early as next week or a few weeks after that. So we're looking, that's a big deal. That'll be the second state that passes that. And we'd like to see these bills around the country. They like to say, it's very interesting because they like to say, well, young people as long as from 3 years old, they want to change and they can consent. But that's like ridiculous because it's the same concept of why of the statutory rape laws that say minors can't consent. Even if they consent, they can't. They're not old enough. And it's the same, very similar with reparative therapy and the enormous amount of pressure that are put on these people to say that they're actually consenting to change when they have enormous societal pressure is insane. And that is why every respected medical and mental health organization in the country